Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am your host, Blue Diaz, for Undergroundvillenz TV show. Shout out to my partner, Tiger Styles, behind the camera right now. So, I have a very, very special guest. Our first special guest. I want to introduce. She is a book author coming straight out of Astoria Projects. She resides in Brooklyn now. Welcome to our show, Labretta Simmons. As you can see, I have a book in front of me. It's called Memoirs of the Dark Chocolate Years. Now, Labretta, we want to get into this book. Tell us a little bit about this book. What is it about? And your direction about this book right here. Where you trying to get at with this book right here?
Well, the direction that I'm trying to get with the book is to make people understand that you're not alone. And where I come from, the background that I come from, growing up in the projects, experiencing poverty, not really having enough food on the table, and going through different phases of abuse with with my family, people being alcoholics, people being drug addicts, coke, crack, weed, you name it, thieves. I come from it all. And the direction I want people to go through is to understand that you're not alone. Because there's a lot of people out there who've been through the same thing, the same exact thing, struggling, trying to survive, and living in a household where they wish things were better. They wish that, my mom wasn't on drugs, my father wasn't on drugs, my siblings or whatever. I wish we had more food on the table, So it's very, very deep in that, and that's why I express my feelings about the book, because for years I couldn't handle what was being done to me. When I was a child, going through trauma and going through a series of phases of abuse, from one family member to the next, being molested by one family member to the next. It's very traumatic. Okay. And everyone has experienced traumatic things in their lives, and traumatic events in their lives where they went through phases of abuse and phases of where you wish you could be some other place besides where you were. And that's how I was when I was a kid, But I would love to for everybody to read the book and get what you can get out of it. And what helped me through the time of the book is music. My love for hip hop. Okay. My love for just growing up in the golden era, they called it, where they had Eric B and Rakim. Then there was Slick Rick, EPMD. Grew up in the golden era. That was the 80s of music. It was a really good time, and I expressed a lot of that in my book. Gang Starr, Big Daddy Kane. I loved them all. I had all their cassette tapes, and at the time, I had my Sony Walkman, and I would be, wherever I was at. And music used to be my sanctuary. And I used to, in my book, you will find at the beginning of every chapter, there's a poetry, which was really like little lyrical rap rhymes that I wrote, but I just turned it into poetry and something for you to think of. I also have a food for thought in the beginning of my book. And yeah, so it's a very good read, and just things that young women experienced growing up in the ghetto, in the projects.
Okay. You also, I've read a few chapters in here as well. Now, you also mentioned that you've been incarcerated as well. Which it can happen to anybody. Life isn't perfect. But, we're touching the facts about basing things on your life. Explain like a dark moment during like your incarceration.
The dark moment for me during my incarceration was just being back inside and not knowing if I'm gonna ever make it home or not, you know. And it's very, very difficult to think about. And when you actually think about being in prison,
Okay.
and being away and being locked away,
Okay.
it's very difficult for you to comprehend that, hey, I screwed up. I really screwed up.
Right.
And this is my life now. And I have to go to a parole board, or I have to go to a board, and hopefully they will let me home.
Right. So,
you know?
So basically,
So that's
you
the
feel,
fear.
Right. Basically, you feel like everything, all walls are closing down on you. Yeah. You know, everybody goes through a certain dark moment in their life as well.
Yes.
You know, I gotten into this book, which I suggest everybody out there go on Amazon right now, and you know, you can give people the information if you like right now. As we getting into the book, as time goes on, we're gonna get into the book more and more. You know, Labretta Simmons is an author. She also got the second chapter coming out in the fall. But before we get into that, get into this book right here. It's a very interesting book. It's about Labretta's life, about her trials and tribulations, about incarceration, about you know, just basically just having hard times throughout her lifetime. Also, you also said that you grew up in the Golden Era, which, you know, I respect that a lot because I'm from the Golden Era as well. You know, I was a tape collector as well. Eric B. and Rakim, EPMD,
Yes.
Big Daddy King, LL,
Yes,
you know.
Rick, yes.
The list goes on and on and on, you know. And shout out to my partner Tiger Styles because he know what we talking about. You know, Tiger Styles, you know, he's from the Golden Era as well, you know. But we all, right, you know, just to not to touch the music topic, I just want to get more into the into your life story right here, because, you know, people like to read you know, that's books about real life stories about throughout your trials and tribulations, through life. Now, you was born and raised in Astoria Projects, as the book says. Was you born and raised in Astoria Projects?
Born and raised in Queens.
Okay.
And like I expressed in the book,
right,
when I was a baby, and you know, my grandmother, she was well into being a Jehovah's Witness, and I was raised back and forth between my mom and my grandma. Right. And you know, when things got rough for my mom, when she resulted, you know, from just a social drinker to alcohol to weed to cocaine and then, you know, crack. You know, my grandmother, that's when she had to come in and step in and say, hey, I'm gonna raise my granddaughter, you know. And even being with my grandma, you know, it's like sometimes at that time you never was told that if someone touched you wrong that to tell. Exactly. It was like the big elephant in the room that nobody talked about. That's how it was with families in the 90s and 80s and beyond. Exactly. So that's kind of a hurtful thing, because if I was taught that, I would have spoke up. You would have spoke up, right. But so I was never really taught that from my grandmother or my mom about that. Okay. So tell the audience out there, the people that's watching as of right now, where actually where they can go to find this book right here. This very interesting. I'm not gonna call it a good book. I'm gonna call it a very powerful. It has a powerful impact behind it. Let them know where you can find it at. You can go to Amazon, and you can type in my name or type in the title of the book, Memoirs of the Dark Chocolate Years, and it will actually come up, and it will actually be on the website. Okay. And it's available, and I'm working on audiobooks, so if you're like blind, you can hear it. Yes. So I'm working on finding someone to do audiobooks. Right. So right now it's paperback and it's Kindle. Okay. And you can find my book on Amazon. And part 2 will be out in the fall. Actually, it's going to be called Strictly Vicious. And that just goes into the second phase of my life. I take every 6 years of my life and I put it together and I make a story. A story, right. Okay. I take 6 years of my life and I put it together and I make this fabulous book. So the next life story will be 1994 to 1999. And that actually is going to talk about my struggle with my first love.
Okay.
Our struggle with the relationship. It's going to talk about how it ended. It's going to talk about the first abusive relationship I was in. It's going to talk about motherhood, the first time me becoming a mother. And I'm still going to incorporate all those phases of books and throughout the years and music.
So, have you ever wrote a song like have you ever been to the studio to record a song, or like have you ever?
No, I've never been to the studio to record a song.
Okay.
But I've done like little rap lyrics, 8, 16 bars. I've done that in the past.
Well, that's a start. That's a start. You know what I'm saying? That's a start right there. You know, look. You got to give her the inspiration, man. At least she's starting out there. You know, at least she's out there. She's doing her thing. She's writing books. She's writing 16 bars. She's out there doing her thing. You know, and be on the lookout because Labretta got a lot of things coming up with us, man. We're gonna get her on platforms. You know, a book signing is coming soon. But ladies and gentlemen, man, you know, please support, you know, especially good books like this, powerful. That's very powerful. That's very it has a lot of inspiration behind it. People that went through the struggle, and just support this book right here. Just go on Amazon, punch in Labretta Simmons, or just go punch in Memoirs of the Dark Chocolate Years. So I want to get into more details about you. How long was your incarceration term for? How was the incarceration going for you? Like when you was behind bars, how many years did you actually been incarcerated for?
I did actually 11 years.
Okay.
Which accumulated to 4 state bids.
Wow.
And the last bid that I actually did was 4 years and a few months. And that's when I decided, you know what, enough is enough. Let me write a story about my life because I want somebody else to see my life through my words.
Through your words, right.
And just become a powerful person that, hey, like you're not the only one who's out there and who's been through these different traumatic things in life, you know?
Right.
No family is perfect, and we all fall short sometimes.
That's right.
Of our destinies. But that don't mean we can't become a better person.
Exactly.
That don't mean we can't become somebody great or somebody, you know, that's going to stand for something, even though we fall so many times with prison, or we may have failed in relationships, or we may have failed in much. We failed so much, but guess what? We become great in something else, you know, whether it be writing, whether it be music. There's something within all of us that is genuine, and we have to reach in ourselves and find that what we are great at, and take that talent and build on it. Because when I want people to read my book, I want them to know that, hey, you're not alone in this. You're not alone in this. There's a lot of people out there who are, to this day, they're hurting inside. They laugh, but their smile is really a frown. And they've been molested.
That's right.
Men, women, they've been molested. Sometimes by immediate family members or people that they don't know. Women who's been in domestic violence, men and women who's been in prison, even men who's been in domestic violence relationships with women, or who's been in love for the first time and then has gotten betrayed, and who's experienced promiscuity, you know. So my book touches all of that, and when the second part comes out in the fall, it's going to be so dope because I'm going to have the Bronx, the Soundview. I'm going to have the Soundview picture next to the Astoria picture.
Shout out to Soundview Projects out there in the Bronx.
Because that was the last phase of my life, was being in foster care, was in Soundview in the Bronx. And rest in peace to my foster mom that passed away in September of 2018, Ruthie Mae Simmons.
Okay. So explain like so where do you see yourself in 5 years from now with not only this book right here, but would you like to continue on doing other books as well?
Yes. In 5 years, I would like to see 5 more books.
5 more books.
I want to drop a book every year.
And you know something? What you just said right now, and I want everybody to hear this. You know what you just said right now is very powerful. You know your words is very you know, I hope it's like kind of it uplifts people out there. You know, because what you just said right now is like, okay, if I can do it, you can do it. If I could come from this right here and flip my whole life around, from being incarcerated, from doing scams, from doing this, from doing that, getting into all types of stuff, all types of shit. Listen, man, you could flip it. You could flip the negative into the positive anytime you feel like it. You know, anytime you feel like it, it's up to you. All right. Remember, you have choices in this world as well.
Yes.
All right. People don't realize that. People think that they gotta stay stuck on one path. You don't have to stay stuck on a negative path. We all come from a certain place at the end of the day. But you know what? We can always flip it into that positive path. And this is where this all comes from right here. It all starts from right here. All right? As you can see, this woman right here, she's been through the streets, a straight hustler right here. I respect her 100% because she came from that. And, you know, we all come from a certain place. As you can see, just go online right now. Just go online right now. Punch in, listen, go to Amazon right now. Go on your phones. Go on Amazon right now. Check it out. Memoirs of the Dark Chocolate Years. Punch it in. I got mine. I got my copy ready. You know, my copy is good, man. I've been reading it, and it's a very powerful book, man. Part 2's coming out in the fall.
And I also have an urban gangster novel coming out next month in another week or 2.
Congratulations to that.
Thank you. It's called Every Man.
It's called
Every Man Held Accountable.
Okay.
And it's dope. It's dope. And as I'm editing the book, my editor is like, wow, this story is phenomenal. Every Man Held Accountable. That's going to be part 1. And then next year I'll have part 2 of that out. It'll be Every Man Held Accountable, The Bloodline. So that'll be out as well. So look for Every Man Held Accountable soon because it's coming. It's almost done. The book covers and everything, that's minor. But, you know, the editing and stuff has to be revised and done, and that'll be out in another week. So basically, what she's saying is like, this woman been through it all. All right, she's seen it all. You've seen it all. Like, you know, you've seen it all. You as far as like you know, being in the streets. You've seen big money. You know what it is. I think I've been through everything in life except for being shot.
well, thank God for that. Thank God you're here. God gave you a second chance to be here. Because if not, you wouldn't be right here on our talk show, Undergroundvillenz, with, you know, Tiger Styles and myself.
Exactly.
You know, like I said, God makes things. There's a time and place for everything. God creates a path for you. That's what I believe. God creates a very strong path for you. But get into this book right here, Memoirs of the Dark Chocolate Years. Another topic I want to touch. As far as you being a hustler from back then. What do you have to? What's the inspiration? Can you speak on these young kids out there right now selling drugs and thinking that that's the right way to go to get quick money? What would you actually sit down and tell a young boy right now or a young female that that's not the right way to go? What would be your words to that particular person?
Well, my words would be to anyone, whether they're young or older or, you know, whatever. Life is what you make it. And a lot of times we have to stumble, fall, we have to crawl to walk, and we have to make these mistakes to see what life is really like. Sometimes the phrase, if you knew better, you would do better, right? But a lot of times we know better, we still don't do better. And that was my problem in life. And I could sit here and I could tell you, don't do this and don't do that. It's not going to change anything because you're going to do what you want to do. And if you want to go and do, whether you want to live your life in a righteous path and which is always the long way because you have to have patience and be humble, or you can go the other route, the short route, and then you got to suffer the consequences of prison and all these other things. But we don't want to go that route. We don't want to go the short route. We want to, because the struggle builds character. Struggle builds character in you, within you. And that's something that you have to understand. That when you take the short route out, then there's going to be a whole bunch of consequences. And that's what I went through in my life. It was like every time I came out of prison, I figured out another easier way to get fast money and commit crime. And it took 11 years of my life. And I don't want that for anybody. And I instill that in my daughters. Like, please go take the righteous path. It's a little bit longer, but it'll make you a stronger person. And it will build character because you was humble and you stuck in there. But if you go the other route, then guess what? I can't hold your hand every step of the way. There's consequences.
That's right. There's always consequences.
There's prison. There's back and forth, in and out of courthouses, bail. You know, it comes with a lot. You know, when you want to live life illegally and think you're going to do it for years, and it's just unrealistic. It's unrealistic. You know, it's unrealistic. You know.
Okay. So, what actually made you start writing this book? When you was incarcerated, I know you said you mentioned earlier, and you mentioned this to me before we even got on the show, that you have written this book while you was incarcerated.
Actually, reading different books, and I just said, you know what? I need to write a book. I need to write a book. And I sat down and I said, you know what? I'm going to start out with a blank piece of paper. Then I'm going to go to commissary and I'm going to get me a whole bunch of composition notebooks to start my first book. And that's how it all started. I just decided one day I'm going to tell my story. And I want other people to know my story. Because a lot of this pain that I have inside, I need to get it out. I need to write. I need to write about it.
Okay. You heard that, ladies and gentlemen, right? Labretta Simmons, once again, Memoirs of Dark Chocolate Years, man. Get into this book. It's very deep. It's very powerful. You know, straight from Astoria Projects, as you can see right here. You know, there's a picture right here of Astoria Projects. What's the difference? Okay, actually, what year? These years right here, this is from 94 and on, or was it earlier before 1994?
It was earlier. The second book will be from 94 to 99.
From 94 to 99. That's
Strictly Vicious is the second book.
Okay, and this is from 90 what?
And this is from like the early 80s, the introduction of when I was born. Then it goes into 1989, all the way up to like 93. So the introduction is one big chapter of when I was born, how you know, everything was, you know, developed, was created, and then it goes into 1993.
You see, that right there, I respect that 100%. That's pure talent right there. For somebody to actually just put their life through a pen right there, and write it right through a pen and remember all that. So we're talking, with this book right here, we're talking back from the early 80s. We're going way back to the early 80s, all the way to what, the early 90s, right? From 93.
The late 70s from when I was born.
We're going for now we're gonna go back to the late 70s. We're going back to the late 70s, what, to the 90s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. And you know, I really gotta say, man, that's much talent and much love and blessings to you. Mm-hmm. You came a long way, and I must truly say that as your friend, I am very proud of you. And you know, but you know what? Shout out to everybody, you know, out there, man. That's that has changed their life around, man. It's made something positive into something, man. You know, flip the negative into positive. You know, hey, look at me. I wasn't no angel. I was out there doing all types of crazy stuff too, man. But listen, I got into music. I turned my life around, and you know, I got into writing rhymes, making beats, and, you know, joined up with Tigers, joined up with other people as well, you know, and I met people fall into your life for a reason, you know, so basically, you know, You're here for a reason. God put you in this path for a reason. God wanted you to spread this word right here. So people could look up to you and be like, wow, you know, she went through it. She went through the fire and back. She went through the bullshit. She went through everything. And look at that. She's still here. She's still here. She's surviving. She's doing her thing. She got a good family now. She got kids. You know, it's just, you know, I commend you on this, man. It's very inspirational over here, man. Like I said, once again, Amazon. Go on Amazon. You know, because I know you ladies out there love to read. When you're home laying down, you know, eating your popcorn or watching, you know, instead of watching soap operas, you could be reading this book right here. Memoirs of the Dark Chocolate Years, man. Go to Amazon, just punch in the title. All you got to do is punch in the title. And that's it. Make your order. Get the hard copy, right?
Yep, and get the paperback and and you can have it on Kindle.
And have it on Kindle, that's it.
I'm working on audiobooks, so if you're, you know, blind or whatever, you can listen to it. I'm working on that. But like I said, look out for A Man Held Accountable, because that's a dope gangster novel that I wrote about a kick-ass female that's, you know, she's selling the score, she's getting revenge and all of that. So that book is deep.
That book is very deep. And
that'll be out in another week or two.
Okay, so be on the lookout for that as well. And the second book is coming out in the fall. But focus on this book right here. You're going to be seeing more of Labretta Simmons. You're going to be seeing more of Labretta Simmons on, you know, on higher platforms with us. We're going to try, you know, because I believe in supporting one another. We're supposed to be out there supporting one another, okay? Right. We're supposed to support one another. Us as minorities, we're supposed to stick by each other. You know, we're trying to get to a certain place in life. And we're supposed to stick by each other, support one another. Still, you know, we out there too busy picking up guns and killing one another. Let's support one another. That's how we grow together as a people. Yeah. Us blacks and Latinos. Let's grow. Let's support one another and grow together as a people. Let's do it. You know, we got a beautiful sister over here, well educated. You know, very outspoken. Very down to earth, and look at this, man. If she made this happen, you can make it happen. Okay? If she can make it happen, if she can make it happen, you can make it happen. You can flip your life around and be like, listen, I want to make change, and I want to do it right now. But it's like she said, it's your choice. So, I want to get into more topics about, you know, more details about this books. As far as your love life goes in this books, where, you know, with, you know, you being in them streets, did you, is there a part in this book where it actually says that going through these trials and tribulations in your hustling time, was there a very special someone, you know, in a relationship? Was you in a relationship during these times?
Yeah. During those times, actually, I wouldn't call it a relationship, except for about one. I had a first love that was a veteran, Corey, and he's expressed a lot in the book. And I'm not going to spill the beans about the book, but it'll tell you how he came into my life, how he made me see things differently. And, you know, as a young woman, because he was an older man. As a teenager, so it'll, you know, and I think that around that time, around that era, the 80s and the 90s, there was a lot of that going on. There was a lot of underage dating. There was a lot of men dating underage girls.
Definitely.
You know, and I had all older men and stuff like that came in my life, and as friends and some as lovers. So, yeah, and then, you know, with the situation of the abuse and, you know, being sexually active and stuff, that's when the promiscuity comes in. That's when being promiscuous comes in, and you want to have sex to equate the hurt or the pain, or you never had a father figure in your life, because I never knew my dad. My brother's father was like my father. And my mother got pregnant with me when she lived in Boston. And then I think that was the biggest mistake that my grandmother could have done, to make her pack her things and come back to the projects to be crammed in a 3-bedroom apartment with just her and my uncles, when she could have stayed in Boston and made a different life. And that's where drugs came in, and all the pressures of having different kids. And my mother had a series of domestic violence, abusive men. I speak about that in my book. And yeah, so, and I just want to say that through this pandemic and through it all, like everybody who's looking at me now, I want you to just, God is everything. Man will disappoint you, but God will never disappoint you. He will put you through some shit to make you say, okay, you know, this is what I need to go through, or whatever. And God has got me out of so much. He has been there for me, because even during my criminal years, I had cases that I never thought I was going to get out of. God turned it around, dropped the cases, dropped. I mean, the bail there's no bail.
Right.
And you know, I've been through it all. I got through 11 years of prison. He got me through it. I don't even know how I did it. When I look back, I said, wow, this is crazy. You know, between Rikers Island and upstate, I took that bus ride 4 times, shackled for 10 hours. You know, going to almost near Canada to do my time in prison. And there just came a time when I said, you know what, I have to change. I have to stop being this selfish person, and I have to change. And that's when I said, you know what, I have to turn my life. I speak about what's going on now with Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmaud Arbery, okay.
And George Floyd.
George Floyd.
Right. You know, and Breonna Taylor, and so on, and the list goes on. I remember everything. Like, I remember so much with Amadou Diallo.
Diallo, yeah.
I remember, like, my grandmother had just died in '98 from cancer, and she left me a big 3-bedroom apartment. When '99 came, this man was shot. Pregnant with my daughter, Sean Bell. I mean, I remember all these different phases of blacks getting killed. Trayvon Martin and everything. Michael Brown, I was in prison. You know, like, and the list goes on. And I speak about that in my book, about police being racist and just, you know, and it's just hurtful. It's really, really hurtful. And I think we experience that wherever we are. Whether we living in poverty, whether we living in, you know, the suburbs, there's always going to be, you know, racism, inequality. And I talk about that in my book. Because I think being in the projects, I think that was like the modern day Jim Crow, to put us there, to segregate us, to put all the poor black people in the projects. That's how I feel. Because everybody who was experiencing oppression from the South, trying to get away from racism, they came to the North for a better living. And a lot of these housing projects was actually built after World War II in the 1940s. That's right. A lot of these projects, they were for veteran families, veterans, and they just said, okay, we'll put families in. And it was so easy then. But the conditions were ran down. And then as time went on, the government brought that crack in. It just solidified the devastation of everybody. Right. You know, even the suburbs. It's not only the projects. They put liquor stores, and they put all these things in poverty neighborhoods.
That's right.
So people get drunk, they get high, and they domestic violence. They hurt their kids, they hurt their families. The husbands are drunk, this one's a drunk, but they want to put all these liquor stores. When you go into the white neighborhoods, you see maybe one liquor store 2-3 miles away.
That's right.
And it's just pathetic.
Or sometimes you have to travel real far in the Caucasian neighborhoods. You have to travel very, very far to get to a liquor store. But it's, you know, it's true what you said. It's a pattern in every neighborhood, in every black and Latino community, when you see like a liquor store. You know, a liquor store, you'll see one block has a liquor store. The next block, a Chinese restaurant. The next block, liquor store.
Right.
It's like, you know, the list goes on and on. But you know, you go from ghetto to ghetto, and you see that in every hood, you know. And I think, you know, with these things going on with the cops and everything, and you know, with you know, killing blacks out there and killing Latinos, us Latino brothers, us black brothers out there, man. It's a very sad thing, because now, not only we have to worry about us killing each other, but now we got to worry about the cops. Now we got to look out. Now we can't even trust the cops, because we make one false move, we're dead.
But the cops have been doing this to us. The cops have been doing this to us
for eons, for
ages and ages.
That's right.
And if you watch the movie Mississippi Burning, which is a classic,
shout out to that's one of my favorite movies. That's a true story. That's right. Mississippi Burning. You got to see that movie with Gene Hackman and William Dafoe.
Wow.
It's a very good movie. It's about the 3 civil rights workers that went to Mississippi. I believe they came from Washington, if I'm not quite mistaken.
2 Jew white boys and a black boy, and a cop pulled them over blew all their brains out.
Blew their brains out and buried them
in the water.
That's right.
In the car.
Mississippi Burning. Check that movie out, man.
Because one day I grabbed a history book.
That's right.
And their pictures just popped up.
The 3 civil rights. And I said, the 3 civil rights workers.
And that happened in the 1960s.
The 60s, yeah. Yeah.
That's not that far back. The 1960s.
It's not. It's not when you think about it.
I was born in 76. I'm 43. That happened in the 1960s. Sad. It's very, very sad.
Very sad.
The police has been doing this to us. And then they put us together with these liquor stores and these drugs and this crack. And now we're killing each other. We're selling drugs.
They want us to just basically they set everything up. Everything is a game plan. It's a setup
to kill off populations of people.
Right. Exactly. They don't want us to expand as people, as minorities. They like they say it's a hard for me to say, but they say it's a white man's world, and I truly believe that, because
I truly believe that. Yeah.
Us black people and Latino people, we're not safe in our own communities, and we're not safe when the blue eyes, when the cops is in back of us, when the blue lights is flashing in the back of us, when the lights is flashing in the back of us, and they're just out to get us. That's it. It's all a game plan at the end of the day, But I hope, like I said, this book right here, it's part of that. It's part about it's as she was saying, this deals with poverty as well. It deals with poverty. It deals with
poverty, segregation, discrimination.
Everything. That's right.
Abuse. It covers all areas.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, now, you said the second book is coming out. Do you have an exact date when the second book is coming out?
Look for it between October and November.
Okay.
Between October and November.
And give them the fans that title again. What's the title?
Memoirs of the Dark Chocolate Years is called Strictly Vicious.
Strictly Vicious. You hear that, ladies and gentlemen, right?
It's the second book.
That's right. She's live right here on Undergroundvillenz TV show. You already know Blue Diaz and Tiger Styles, all right? Got Tiger Styles right now controlling that camera, but it's all good, But yeah, so we have the lovely Labretta Simmons. And not only lovely, but she's very intelligent. She's highly intelligent. She's also a good friend of mine. She's also a very good friend of mine as well.
For a year.
Yeah, for 1 year. It's funny how, this is the first time we're meeting. And she lives in my neighborhood, by the way, and it's just crazy. But, this book right here is very interesting. I got my copy. Got it the other day. I didn't get it from the what's that? The what they call that? The iPad, not the iPad.
The e-books?
No. I got the soft copy.
Paperback.
Yeah, the paperback. I got the paperback. Okay, I got mine. I'm old school with it, so you already know. I like to hold it in my hand and walk around with it, read it at home. Hey, and I like it. But it's a good book, man. It's a very this cover right here, as you can see, is very eye catching as well. Sometimes books, the front covers could be very eye-catching. And that's what makes the sales, too, this eye-catching. Sometimes the book could look boring. But you know what? You can walk right past it, go to Barnes and Noble.
I've seen a lot of boring looking covers.
That's boring. It's just a plain old book, plain old cover with nothing on it. But as you can see, man, you see this right here. As you can see, this, I believe this is a child on the book right here? Mm-hmm. Is that supposed to be you?
Yes.
Okay. That's supposed to be you, like Astoria Projects over here. Coming from Astoria Projects, as you can see. So, how many years did you reside in Astoria projects? How was the upbringing? Because I know during these times right now, New York City period is not bad as the way it used to be back then. I think back then, back in the 80s and the 70s and the 90s. The 70s, 80s, and 90s. Let me go in order. 70s, 80s, and 90s. Which was much more rougher.
The drug dealers, they on the corner. So everything started coming out. Kids started acting out more violently. Not enough food in the house. A lot of this happened in the 80s. You start seeing the corners fill up with thugs and people just selling drugs. And, it was just not a good time. And then when I went to foster care in the 90s, it was like Brownsville was a war zone. I mean,
that's right.
I speak about that in my book, about how Brownsville was. And one of my friends just bought the book, and he was saying how he remembers how they was looting down Pickens Avenue. And I went to one of the roughest junior high schools in Brownsville, which is Marcus 263, where a student beat a teacher with a hammer. And every day somebody was getting jumped or beat up. And I experienced that in Queens too. Like I experienced that in elementary school. So I had fights and stuff and, got bullied. That's just life. But the 80s was a very off the hook era. And I think the only thing that was really, really like satisfying was the music. The music was really,
that's right. I remember,
from the R&B to the hip hop. It was a very good year for music.
I remember the 80s as well. I remember coming up in the 80s as a child. And I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100% on that. The 80s was a very, very rough era. And that's when, when I started seeing things as well. Drug dealers, the fights, stabbing. After I've seen, when I was a child, I've seen somebody get shot in the corner, somebody get killed. Mm-hmm. It's not a pretty sight. It's not, but thank God, that you're alive and well. Thank God I'm alive and well. Thank God, our families are still here. We still going strong and we surviving. So that's what this is about. It's about survival. So, basically, my other question to you, and this would be the last question. Do you think this book is all based on survival?
A lot of it is based on basically survival. It's based on survival, and it's like you gotta adapt to your environment. Wherever you're at, you're in the belly of the beast.
That's right.
And the streets don't love nobody,
right.
Especially
definitely.
Around that time. If you're a young girl and you're cute and you're well developed, people will come out of everywhere. Wolves and bears, they will come out of everywhere and try to take advantage of who you are as a person. So streets ain't love nobody around that time. Right. I'm sorry,
You hear that, right?
And it was just a lot.
So it's very real positive. Real things that she's talking right now. About the golden era, about with music. It was the 80s was a good time in music. Then even the 90s was a good time in music. But as far as like being in the streets, it was pretty rough, man. It was wild out there. New York City, Brownsville, the Bronx, everywhere. The whole New York City was like rough, man. And especially coming up in the projects, man, there's no walk in the park. It's every day, man. Anything could go down. Anything could go down in the projects.
I even named some of the roughest housing projects throughout New York City, from Far Rockaway, Edgemere to Staten Island, Stapleton, to Queens, South 40, Astoria, Queensbridge, Brooklyn, Marcy, Bronx River, Soundview. I named the projects, and I even give you a little history on what drug lords was around at that time. AZ, Porter, Ty Nitty and Black from Staten Island. I give you a lot of the drug lords and a little bit of history on that as well in here, around who was around at the time.
So that is a little history of New York City right there, what she just gave you. How she came up, how she went through a rough time, through trials and tribulations, and things was rough in that time. You know, as she said, you know, she gave you a little street lesson right there. You know, I hope you take heed to that, you know, especially to these young boys and girls out here, this young generation, period. You know, about, you know, this is not the way to go. You know, stay in school. You know, if you want to become a doctor, a lawyer, you want to be a football player, basketball player, man, hey, man, you could just live your dream, man. You could just work hard at it, you know. But as far as going like the negative route and you know, and when you pick up this book and you read it, man, just really think about it, what she went through. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people, life isn't perfect. Everybody went through hard times in life. Everybody goes through hard times, all right? Nobody can sit here and say that your life is perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect life. Everybody goes through hard. Everybody's seen it all, you know. And I just hope, you know, you people could just wake up and realize that life isn't easy. And you just got to work hard at things that you want in this lifetime, all right? You know, as she said earlier, you know, God, you know, we sit there, we pray to God, but God wants you to make that change for you. God put you on this earth for you to make choices. God said, here, you know what? Here, I'm going to let you rock. I'm going to give you life. I'm going to let you rock on earth. But you know what? You choose the right and the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what I believe. But shout out to you.
Mm-hmm.
God bless your talent.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really want to thank you for coming on the first episode of Undergroundvillenz TV show. We are looking forward to having you on the show again on the when your second book comes out. But you know, be on the lookout for her, Labretta Simmons.
Thank you everybody for stopping by,
tuning in for another episode of Undergroundvillenz. You know, Undergroundvillenz TV show. Blue Diaz, Tiger Styles, with
Labretta Simmons, author.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, pick up this book right here, Memoirs of the Dark Chocolate Years. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to show it right here on IG Live. Okay, all right. Let the people know where you can find it one more time.
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. Just punch in her title, punch in her name, and please support. Okay.
I will be doing a book signing, but it will be in another 2 weeks.
A book signing. Let the people know we're going to be doing the book signing at.
I'm still undecided.
I'll keep you
posted.
But you know what? She'll keep you posted, and we'll definitely keep you posted, all right? So we're going to set things up for her and everything, and a lot of good things are going to happen. You know why? Because, like I said, she's a very good person. But pick up this book and love and support, man. Support, you know? Brothers and sisters, let's support one another. All right? Shout out. Undergroundvillenz TV show. Let's go. Blue Diaz and Tiger Styles. Labretta Simmons. Yeah! Undergroundvillenz.
Okay.
Also,
I'm on Facebook, Labretta Simmons. I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter. Okay. At BossyBad 2015 is my Twitter. At BossyBad. And yeah, everybody have a great evening. And thank you for tuning in.
Your IG?
Yes, my IG is Labretta Ms. Chocolate Simmons. Is my IG. Labretta MZ Chocolate Simmons, okay?
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for tuning in to another show of Undergroundvillenz TV show. Let's go. Your boy Blue Diaz, Tiger Styles. Yeah.
Underground.
Damn, Blue, why they hating on you?
They wanna see me fall with my back on the wall.
Damn, Blue, why they hating on you?
They didn't wanna see me roll, they didn't wanna hear me flow.
Damn, Blue, why they hating